Curtis Blaydes versus Tom Aspinall takes place this weekend in the main event of UFC Fight Night London. Blaydes versus Aspinall, and I can't wait for this heavyweight main event. This is a big one. It's a danger to pick. I know a lot of people are very high on Tom Aspinall, and I am as well, but Curtis Blaydes is a very dangerous guy because he's a veteran of the sport that is still making improvements at this point in his career. So he's almost like renewing himself every time he gets KO'd and finished, because every single time it happens, he seems to come back and genuinely get better at fighting. Maybe it's just that he's sort of like resetting against lesser competition, and whenever he takes that jump up to better competition, he eventually loses. And maybe we'll find that out this weekend against Tom Aspinall. Maybe there's a level of opponent that Curtis Blaydes just can't quite beat, but anyone else he can. But I'm really looking forward to this main event. It's a big one. This weekend's card feels like a pay-per-view. I'm really looking forward to it, and I feel as though Tom Aspinall is going to get this one done because, listen, I've been high on very many heavyweight prospects. I wasn't too high on Chris Daukaus, and we'll get to that in a second. But I was very high on Cyril Gane. I thought Cyril Gane was going to go down, future heavyweight GOAT. There's no beating this guy. Look at the way he strikes. And I genuinely do believe, and this is an unpopular opinion, he should have won round 5 against Ngannou, and arguably should have won that fight 3 rounds to 2. Either way, I'm not saying it was a robbery. It was just like, I think on technicality, according to the criteria, he should have won round 5 against Ngannou. But either way, I thought that Cyril Gane was going to be amazing. And then I see Tom Aspinall come up. And I'm thinking to myself stuff like, wow, Gane made it look quite difficult in comparison. You know what I'm saying? Because in reality, Cyril Gane may have taken Sergey Spivak to a 3rd round finish. Or like a decision win where he dominates every round and gets some 10-8 rounds in there. He took Alexander Volkov the full 5 rounds in their fight that they had against each other. And actually lost the first round of that fight on 2 of the judges' scorecards, I believe. He lost the first round against Alexander Volkov, arguably. Tom Aspinall, this is different stuff, okay? The most problems he's faced in his career so far is taking 2 or 3 good punches off of Andrei Arlovski. He got caught in the eye by a punch from Arlovski. Said he sort of went double vision for a bit because one of his eyes was sort of like blurring shut and he couldn't quite open his eye and see right. So he had to recover himself. And in round 2, he showed us the new part of his game, which was, okay, if the stand-up's getting a bit tricky here and there and I'm taking a couple of punches, I can just ragdoll someone to the ground and immediately submit them the way he did to Andrei Arlovski in the 2nd round. But his performance against Alexander Volkov, it's hard to deny how good it was. Could it have been that he was in UFC London and it was the perfect moment for him and the stars just so happened to align and we may never see that level of Aspinall again and it was his best moment ever and he was just on 100% in that fight? Yes, but I don't know if I'm just going to leave it on that because I feel like if you can do that to Alexander Volkov, you can do that to so many top-level guys in the heavyweight division. And I feel as though you can do it to Curtis Blaydes as well. I'm not saying he's going to go down there and take down Blaydes and submit him in the 1st round. I believe he actually has a chance to, because sometimes at heavyweight, especially in Curtis Blaydes' case, when you're the guy who never gets takedowns shot on you, you're the only guy shooting for takedowns on people and you're getting them and you're taking people down, someone eventually shoots a takedown on you. I doubt there's very many people in Curtis Blaydes' gym that are giving him problems in the grappling. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you run into a Tom Aspinall who's going to shoot first on Curtis Blaydes, and now for the first time in the last decade of Blaydes' career, he's on his back and he has to try and figure things out. That can be a very dangerous moment for Curtis Blaydes, especially in such a big fight that this is, in the main event of UFC London, with the crowd going crazy for anything that Tom Aspinall's going to do. I feel as though if Aspinall goes out there, lights him up on the feet a little bit early, chops at the legs, goes to the body a little bit with some jabs and moves out of the way, and then shoots a good takedown and puts Blaydes on his back. Even if Blaydes gets back up, I feel as though Tom Aspinall's going to really take benefit from that. Putting Blaydes on his back, showing him that, listen, you're not the only one who's going to be shooting in this fight, and that's going to make Blaydes less sort of like okay to grapple on his terms. It's going to be more on Aspinall's terms, and he might be on the back foot, and it might cause some like reactionary takedowns rather than sort of like getting off his combos and then shooting some takedowns in the middle of it and stuff like that and playing it according to his game plan. But I feel as though Tom Aspinall's got this one done. I've never seen hand speed like this on a heavyweight ever in my life. Now listen, there have been some good heavyweights in the UFC and they've thrown some fast hands here and there, but Aspinall's is just a different frequency. And as soon as he went into the fight against Alexander Volkov, I feel like everybody had this response. He threw that first 1-2-3 combination, and it was like, oh, okay then. Okay, this is a rough night for Alexander Volkov, straight away. There's no, like, as soon as that first combination landed by Tom Aspinall, I think everyone watching kind of thought to themselves, even if they picked Alexander Volkov, what was that? You know, how quick were those hands? 1, 2, 3, right on the chin. Not heavyweight. 1, 2, 3. Wow, great hand speed at heavyweight. This was like a real quick. And there's a video of it online on the Mac Life where you're watching Tom Aspinall and Darren Till warm up for their fight when Darren Till fought Derek Brunson and Aspinall fought Sergey Spivak. And you're watching Darren Till hit the pads. Aspinall's faster than him. And Till used to be a welterweight. And that's real. I feel like he's going to shock Curtis Blaydes. I also want to mention this as well. Curtis Blaydes looked really good in his last performance against Chris Daukaus. I never was on the Chris Daukaus train. As soon as I watched his Shamil Abdurakhimov fight, I thought to myself, this dude's losing to the next guy he fights. And I said that in my Derek Lewis prediction video for him and Chris Daukaus. I said, listen, there's no way. I'm burping through this. No way he beats Chris Daukaus. Zero chance. I don't see it. There's no way he beats Derek Lewis, sorry. There's no way Chris Daukaus beats Derek Lewis. Zero chance. Don't see it happening whatsoever. And then sure enough, he goes out there and he gets laid out in the first round. I actually said Derek Lewis is just going to bully him and KO him in the first round because I watched that Shamil Abdurakhimov fight from Chris Daukaus and he was just there in range, taking shots. Aspinall ain't there in range. He's not 6'2" and looking like he's been popped by a pin before he goes out there to fight. You know what I mean? Like, Chris Daukaus looks deflated. If anything, Aspinall's getting in better and better shape every single time we see him go out there. And he looks in better shape for this one as well. I just saw a video on Full Reptile. He's in great shape. He's got a new back tattoo, and that's the main thing people were paying attention to. But I was looking at him and I was thinking, oh my God, this guy's packing on some muscle. He's going to be a little bit bigger out there against Curtis Blaydes than he was before. Is that maybe going to take away some speed? Yes, but it's still going to be there. I think this is going to be a really good performance from Tom Aspinall. It could go badly. Blaydes could land a big punch and all of a sudden it's, oh, does Aspinall's chin recover and is he going to have problems with other fighters, and all of a sudden our entire perception of him changes. But I feel as though Tom Aspinall's going to go out there, make it look easy and finish Curtis Blaydes in the first round. He's just doing stuff other heavyweights don't do. Heavyweights don't knee to the body. They just don't do it. Aspinall does. They ain't throwing elbows. It actually, watching Aspinall and Gant made me hate the UFC heavyweight division. I'm like, how are they this bad? Like, I thought Stipe was great, and he is great, and he has done great. But this is just proof that there's a new generation coming through. Stipe throwing a fucking elbow in the single collar. Whap! Just following up with an elbow after a knee to the body like that. You don't see that stuff at heavyweight. You don't see 1, 2, 3. It's one shot. Oh my God, what a great combo when they throw a 1-2 down the pipe. Like, it's just different stuff with Aspinall. He'll switch stances, switch again, and then rip an uppercut to the body and shimmy out of room. And even the takedowns that he got against Alexander Volkov. When you see that flow state in a fighter, he's comfortable. If this was his first main event, and instead of fighting Volkov at UFC London, he was fighting Curtis Blaydes, maybe there'd be more questions. Big main event, will he deliver with the big crowd, first time in front of a crowd? Our evidence is when Aspinall's in front of a massive crowd, he's better. He's just better. I don't think Chris Daukaus was ever that good. I never thought he was that good. This is why I picked Curtis Blaydes to beat him as well by TKO. And he did. And Curtis Blaydes is good. But then I look at the Jairzinho Rosenstruik fight, which is a level of striker, I believe, a little bit higher than Chris Daukaus. And I see Jairzinho Rosenstruik, who I believe doesn't have the grappling game of Tom Aspinall. Just got smoked by Volkov himself. Smoked by Volkov in the first round. I think there's a different wave of heavyweight, and Blaydes just ain't in it. I think he's one of the older ones that's going to get left behind a bit. Maybe he'll rebound again and be in the same position again on a 2-fight win streak, but I'm trusting in Tom Aspinall here. There is a worry about his chin. How is he going to deal with taking those big punches off the top heavyweights right on the jaw? Because there was a fight earlier in his career. There's no footage of it because they done him dirty. It wasn't a 12-6 elbow. If there's a fight on his record, I'll tell you about it right now. I've heard him speak about it before, but he speaks about it and admits that he got dropped twice in that fight badly. But he was bouncing back to win eventually in the fight, but they never uploaded it because they disqualified him for an illegal 12-6 elbow that wasn't a 12-6 elbow. Normally, if there's a Bama fight, it'll be on YouTube somewhere. But they didn't put out the footage whatsoever because it wasn't a 12-6 elbow. Their guy just started losing, even though he was starting to win early on. And then Aspinall just got disqualified for no reason, apparently. But Aspinall even said in that fight, he got dropped twice. But this is earlier in his MMA career. A time where he's like, all right, MMA this weekend, and then, I'm not even feeling MMA anymore. I'll just do some boxing for a bit, and I'll try out boxing, and then, maybe I guess I'll come back to MMA. And then eventually Cage Warriors picked him up, and he was like, okay, I've got a clear pathway to get myself into the UFC and stuff like that. And eventually he did. Smoked Collier, smoked Bordeaux. Arlovsky beat him easily, Spivak. And when you look at some of these wins that he has, Spivak's doing pretty good. You know what I mean? I'm looking at some of these previous losses. Volkov just bounced back and made Rosenstruik look amateur as an MMA striker. Aspinall was lighting up Volkov on the feet. Spivak bounces back against Hardy. Before that, he was on a 3-fight winning streak against Olenek, Vanderas, Felipe. You know what I mean? And you look at Andrei Arlovsky. I know some questionable decisions, I understand, but still, like, Aspinall beats him, takes him out, and then since then, Arlovsky beats Sherman, Felipe, Vandera, Collier. I mean, he's getting all of the bottom barrel guys in that division, but still, Arlovsky's still doing his thing. Like, even Alan Bordeaux hasn't been getting smoked in the first round since then. You know what I mean? Like, he gassed out after beating up Parisian and then lost afterwards, but he went to a close decision that arguably he should have won against Parker Porter. Like, no one's destroying him the same way Aspinall is. And I feel like that says something. Even Collier's been looking okay here and there. Arguably could have beaten Arlovsky himself. Like, I think Aspinall's the real deal. A lot of things point towards it. Blaydes is really good, and I get that, and I really understand Blaydes has really improved his boxing, and his grappling is good. But, like, the same opponent, Alexander Volkov, who fought a better Volkov? Aspinall or Blaydes? If anything, Aspinall. He fought a Volkov who was more along in his grappling education of the sport. He was further along in his grappling training than when he fought Curtis Blaydes. If anything, fighting Blaydes taught Volkov a lesson, like, I need to improve my grappling before I fight again, and now I'm taking on Tom Aspinall. And Aspinall just ragdolled him, took him down immediately with like a, I don't even know what throw, it was just some kind of throw that he went for. Got him to the ground, big shots of ground and pound, looking for a Kimura. As Volkov gets back up, big knee to the body, big elbow to the head, and then separates himself and moves out the way and stuff like that. Like, I just don't see Blaydes winning. He could. I don't think it's a very educated pick to make. So I'm going to side with Tom Aspinall here. And he takes down Volkov again. He slips back out the way of a head kick and then dips on the inside of a right, on the outside of a right hand and blasts the double leg at the same time. Blaydes was like shooting on Volkov, and then Volkov would end up against a cage, and Blaydes would eventually try to drag him down and half gas himself out, trying to keep Volkov on the canvas. Like, it was just night and day. Aspinall took down Volkov, passed right into side control, arm lock, done. There's like a system to it, and it reminds me of like a Dagestani system. You know what I mean? I have no doubt in my mind, if you aren't a believer of Tom Aspinall, if his name was Tomov Aspinallov, everyone would be touting this guy as the future GOAT. I see the Weasel. I like the Weasel. He makes great videos. But I see him saying stuff like, we don't know yet. I bet you anything. If Tom Aspinall's name was Tomov Aspinallov, and the Weasel saw him do that to Alexander Volkov, what he just did, he'd be touting him as the future GOAT. Like, I think like this is different gravy from the UK, and I think he's going to be a top level guy, and I think he beats Curtis Blaydes. It's tough to say because Blaydes is good, and At heavyweight, you can improve, and then you meet that level, and then you come back down, and then it looks not so good for yourself. But I've got to side with Tom Aspinall here. Not even like a UK thing. Just, I'm okay to pick against UK guys, but I picked against Jack Shaw last weekend against Simone. People said you're stupid. How's Simone going to beat him? He's the underdog. And I was like, no, Simone's better than Jack Shaw. Like, there's holes in Jack Shaw's game. Simone's going to expose him. And he did. Like, I'm okay to pick against UK guys. I just can't pick against Aspinall, man. He's too good. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I think Aspinall finishes him in the first round against a cage. TKO. Toodle pip.